Chapter 3567. Just for fun. Origin realms were once independent worlds, like the Origin continent, possessing Taiyang and Tai-Yin origins, great Daos, countless spirit veins, and numerous powerful beings. But they were ultimately destroyed in great battles. After the worlds were destroyed, their cores returned to the Origin ancestral land and became Origin realms. Within the Origin realms, there still remained a trace of the world's most essential power. This power was full of vitality, containing the essence of Taiyang and Tai-Yin origins, and could be said to be the most core and important existence of the world. It was precisely the existence of this essence that gave Origin realms the possibility of recovery. The reason Origin realms could become boundary sea worlds was also because of the existence of this essence. For Lin Moyu, the essence in the Origin realms could perfectly serve as nourishment for the large world, enhancing its core and accelerating its evolution. However, this still needed to wait. The large world was still in the process of transformation and needed more time. The transformation of the large world had already been going on for over 500 years and hadn't ended yet. It was a long process that couldn't be rushed. The third ancestor said in a low voice,
"I've finished speaking. It's your turn."
Lin Moyu said,
"Third ancestor, before I speak, I have a question I want to ask. You and the Beast Emperor stayed here. Is it because you want to become Dao Lords?"
The third ancestor was obviously not surprised, but instead chuckled.
"You've indeed guessed it."
Lin Moyu guessing the identities of the third ancestor and others was actually normal. Previously, at the ancient Lotus Holy Land, their conversation wasn't hidden from Lin Moyu. With Lin Moyu's intelligence, analyzing various meanings from their conversation was also normal. Lin Moyu said,
"According to what you just said, plus my junior's understanding, after you become a Dao Lord, you'll have to engage in the Great Dao struggle. Is that right?"
The third ancestor was silent for a moment, then said in a low voice,
"That's more or less correct."
Lin Moyu said,
"Although I don't know which Great Dao you cultivate, I know that after you become a projection Dao Lord, this Great Dao struggle will probably be extremely dangerous."
Hearing the words,
"Projection Dao Lord,"
the third ancestor let out a light exclamation.
"You even know about this?"
Lin Moyu nodded.
"By chance, I went to that place."
The third ancestor took a deep breath, trying to calm his inner thoughts.
"I really didn't expect that you even entered that place."
Lin Moyu said,
"Just luck."
The third ancestor obviously didn't believe Lin Moyu's words.
"That place isn't somewhere you can enter just with good luck. There's no need to be modest about some things. We've already talked to this extent. You can speak directly about anything. Although this old man has never been to the Origin ancestral land, let alone that place, this old man still knows something about that place."
Lin Moyu asked,
"Then do you know what that place really is?"
The third ancestor said in a low voice,
"That is the true origin of heaven and earth, the core of everything, the beginning and the end. All things and beings start from there, and will end there."
Lin Moyu said,
"But when I was there, I only saw less than 20 great Daos."
The third ancestor asked,
"Tell me more specifically."
As the third ancestor said, the conversation had already reached this point, and there was no need for too much concealment. Lin Moyu roughly described what he had seen, and as he spoke, he used the gray and white chi of the undeath Great Dao to construct the appearance of the interior of the Origin ancestral land. Numerous Great Daos hung 10,000 meters high in the sky, requiring comprehension of the Great Dao to enter. Some Great Daos even had projections falling into that unknown realm, reflecting the Great Dao inside. Lin Moyu also explained why those people's memories became chaotic, losing all memories of the Origin ancestral land, while retaining corresponding insights. To those who didn't understand, it seemed incredible, but when explained, it was nothing more than the Soul Great Dao. However, the power of the Soul Great Dao was extremely strong. Even those at the 9th level of Dao Venerable Realm couldn't withstand it and would be affected. And those Dao Venerables who died, most died from killing each other, while a small portion died from being unable to withstand the test of the Great Dao. Also, because of the chaotic memories, the cause of death in the origin ancestral land had always been a mystery, but in fact it was quite simple. The real danger of the origin ancestral land was how to enter that unknown realm from the true body of the great Tao. That was the real danger. After hearing Lin Moyu's words, the third ancestor fell into deep thought. Lin Moyu didn't urge him, knowing that the third ancestor was certainly pondering. What the third ancestor said might not be everything. He would certainly compare what he said with what he knew. After waiting for a moment, the third ancestor suddenly muttered to himself,
"So that's how it is, that's how it is."
His tone revealed surprise, obviously having understood some things. Lin Moyu smiled and said,
"Tell me more specifically."
It was the third ancestor's turn to speak again, and Lin Moyu returned the same words. The third ancestor organized his thoughts.
A Tao Lord once said that after becoming a Tao Lord, one needs to engage in the great Tao struggle. I never understood before what the great Tao struggle meant. The Tao Lords of the myriad worlds engage in the great Tao struggle. They want to go from being projection Tao Lords to becoming true great Tao Lords. They want to project the true body of the great Tao into that most primitive space, a space that connects to the soul void and connects to myriad worlds. Only in this way can they be called true great Tao Lords, not just Tao Lords of a certain world. I don't know exactly how to do it. If this old man is successful this time, I will also be able to become a Tao Lord, and then I'll know.
The great Tao struggle belonged to the realm of Tao Lords, unknowable to outsiders, and the Tao Lords wouldn't speak of it. Lin Moyu said,
I've seen that place. Over countless years, there have only been a few great Tao Lords. It seems this path isn't easy to walk.
The third ancestor said,
Of course it's not easy. During the origin catastrophe, the Tao Lords of those two worlds attacked the origin continent for the great Tao struggle. They wanted to refine the origin continent, devour the great Taos, to achieve their own great Tao. As a result,
At this point, the third ancestor let out a cold, disdainful laugh.
the Tao Lords of those two worlds, 7 or 8 out of 10 died. The remaining Tao Lords dragged their respective worlds and disappeared into the world mist. If our world hadn't been severely damaged, with many Tao Lords also dying, we would have pursued and killed them long ago.
Tao Lords were the main force of a world, and the power of these projection Tao Lords could only be fully exerted in their own worlds. Once they left their world too far, the Tao Lords' power would also greatly weaken. So when they engaged in the great Tao struggle, they necessarily dragged their world along. The origin continent was severely damaged, and the will of the great Tao in the origin world sealed the world, so those projection Tao Lords couldn't drag the great Tao to pursue the enemy. Lin Moyu felt that the great Tao struggle of the origin continent was very similar to the Boundary Sea world struggle. He couldn't help but say,
Isn't this almost the same as the Boundary Sea world? The world is just a circle, coming back around again.
The third ancestor laughed heartily.
Where do you think the Boundary Sea world struggle came from?
Lin Moyu's eyes flickered.
Are you saying it's the handiwork of those Tao Lords?
The third ancestor said,
Not those, it's the work of just one Tao Lord created based on the great Tao struggle. The Boundary Sea is the world mist, and each world in the Boundary Sea is like a world in the mist.
Lin Moyu asked.
But what's the use of doing this?
The third ancestor chuckled.
It's of no use. That Tao Lord did it just for fun.
Lin Moyu couldn't understand the interests and hobbies of Tao Lords. A thought struck him and he asked,
Then what level is the Lord of Hell?
Chapter 3568. Chatting with the third ancestor always brings unexpected gains. Lin Moyu's question made the third ancestor fall silent for a long time without answering. Lin Moyu chuckled lightly.
Didn't you say that we've already talked to this extent? What else can't be said?
The third ancestor said in a low voice.
It's not that it can't be said, but this old man doesn't know much about things at that level. Many things are just hearsay.
Lin Moyu said.
Even if it's hearsay, you must have heard it from some Tao Lord, right? Why don't you tell me? This junior is very curious.
The third ancestor's gaze carried scrutiny.
You should already know that you are very likely the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell, so
Lin Moyu shook his head.
I don't think I'm the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell. If we can still have a pleasant conversation, then please tell me. If you really don't want to say, then our conversation can end here.
At this point, Lin Moyu's tone had already become not so friendly. I've said what I should say, but you want to keep secrets. Lin Moyu naturally wasn't happy. Regarding the matter of the Lord of Hell, he could completely wait to ask someone in the outer sky Great Tao later. At that time, Lord Wentian also mentioned it, and Lord Wentian also thought he was the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell. However, after thinking it over, Lin Moyu felt he wasn't. He wasn't interested in the identity of the Lord of Hell. He was interested in the Lord of Hell's strength. The strength of the Lord of Hell was very strange, seemingly higher than projection Tao Lords, but weaker than true Great Tao Lords. The third ancestor sighed.
Let me call Old Black over. He knows some things better. The Tao Lords I know are of a slightly lower level.
The Tao Lords the third ancestor knew were not Tao Lords of origin Great Taos. Previously at the ancient Lotus Holy Land, they had vaguely expressed that he, the Beast Emperor, and the King of the Boundary Sea didn't take some weak Great Tao Lords seriously at all. There were huge differences between Tao Lords. They were all Tao Lords of projection Great Taos, but Tao Lords of origin Great Taos were certainly stronger than Tao Lords of some branch Great Taos. If they were of the same type, there might even be restraining relationships. The King of the Boundary Sea's identity was somewhat special. He had powerful forces behind him, so he might know more information, which was why the third ancestor wanted to call him over. Lin Moyu wasn't in a hurry and waited patiently. During the wait, the third ancestor said,
You're already a 7th level ancestor. In this heavenly transformation, you're very likely to enter the Great Tao realm, so you need to be prepared. You possess the Great Tao Essence Fire, so the test of the Great Tao won't be a problem for you. You don't need to worry about that. The key is, after you achieve the Great Tao realm, how will you step into the outer sky Great Tao? That fellow withering and flourishing won't easily let you go.
Lin Moyu asked.
Then what suggestions does the third ancestor have?
The third ancestor said,
You can stay on the origin continent for a while longer. Wait until the origin continent fully recovers, establish your own forces there, and you can go to the soul void to improve your cultivation. As long as your soul level can reach the 6th grade innate soul, even if withering and flourishing wants to kill you, it won't be so easy.
Lin Moyu said.
Inshun said he would help me solve the problem of withering and flourishing elder.
The third ancestor chuckled.
You can treat what Inshun said as farts. Even if he really helps you, he won't go all out. Even if he made a great Tao oath, it wouldn't be of much use. After he returns to the outer sky Great Tao and his power recovers to its peak, even a great Tao oath will be hard to bind him. Withering and flourishing elder isn't easy to deal with. Not to mention his own strength, he also has considerable forces in the outer sky Great Tao. Besides, the people from the Great Tao race sect will probably come looking for you too. This is also a big trouble, even more troublesome than withering and flourishing.
Lin Moyu interrupted the third ancestor's words.
If you keep talking like this, I might as well not go. It seems like entering the outer sky Great Tao is just asking for death.
The third ancestor laughed heartily.
This old man is just telling the truth. How about this? This old man has a deal that's very suitable for you.
So he was waiting for this. Lin Moyu smiled and asked,
What deal? Tell me about it first.
The third ancestor said,
This old man can ensure your safety in the outer sky Great Tao. In return, when you go to the soul void, you need to help this old man refine soul crystals and bring them back.
Lin Moyu smiled.
So you've set your sights on my Great Tao Essence Fire. Refining soul crystals isn't a problem, but how will you ensure my safety?
The third ancestor said,
This old man naturally has ways. This deal isn't a loss for you. The Great Tao Race sect is not easy to deal with. This old man advises you to consider it carefully.
The third ancestor's business dealings had always been fair to all. Lin Moyu didn't distrust the third ancestor. It was just that this great Tao array sect seemed like it wouldn't let him live in peace. From the information known so far, the great Tao array sect was not only selfish but also very protective of its own. At this time, he heard the third ancestor murmur.
What a pity, that furnace is gone. If that furnace were still here, it would be much simpler.
Lin Moyu's heart moved.
Are you talking about the soul refining furnace?
The third ancestor was slightly surprised.
You actually know about the soul refining furnace?
Lin Moyu nodded.
I heard about it from a spirit of an artifact. It seems to be a treasure of a soul pill Taoist, with the effect of refining soul pills. That pill Taoist was also called the shame of the great Tao realm.
The third ancestor laughed.
That's right, the shame of the great Tao realm. When the soul pill Taoists first obtained the soul refining furnace, people didn't know its great use. Later it was discovered that this furnace could refine souls into true soul pills. True soul pills are supreme treasures in the great Tao realm. Unfortunately, that fellow hid in the origin continent. Countless people looked for him but couldn't find him. After the origin catastrophe occurred, his whereabouts became unknown.
Lin Moyu thought to himself.
It's not that his whereabouts are unknown, but that he perished.
Lin Moyu asked.
Isn't the soul refining furnace a treasure of the origin continent?
The third ancestor shook his head.
Of course not. The soul refining furnace came from the soul void. This treasure is very special and powerful. It seems to have come from a destroyed world and should be related to the soul great Tao.
Lin Moyu said.
Oh. Are these true soul pills really that powerful?
Chatting with the third ancestor always brought unexpected gains, and here it came. The third ancestor said.
This old man hasn't personally tried it, but it's said to have extremely good effects. Moreover, true soul pills can be refined multiple times to enhance their effects. It's said that someone used one true soul pill to advance from a 4th grade innate soul to a 3rd grade innate soul, saving 100,000 years of hard work. The effect is marvelously powerful.
Lin Moyu couldn't help but sigh.
That's indeed a pity.
As they were chatting, the king of the Boundary Sea entered the merchant city. The third ancestor immediately had Lu Lien bring him over. Another new guest had arrived in this mysterious space. Seeing Lin Moyu, the king of the Boundary Sea laughed heartily.
Brother Lin has indeed returned safely. That's wonderful.
The third ancestor said.
Old Black, I called you here because there's something to ask. Young friend Lin wants to know about the Lord of Hell. Tell him what you know.
The king of the Boundary Sea was slightly stunned.
Why ask about this?
Lin Moyu quickly said.
I want to know. The third ancestor said I might be the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell, so I want to know what the former Lord of Hell was like, and what kind of strength he had.
The third ancestor said.
Just tell him. He now knows things that aren't less than what we know. There's no need to be cautious.
Chapter 3569. Another Genius Assembly. After receiving confirmation from the third ancestor, the king of the Boundary Sea began to speak about matters concerning the Lord of Hell. His words were filled with awe towards the Lord of Hell, as if the Lord of Hell was a terrifying existence. Not just him, Lord Wentian had also had a similar reaction back then. Clearly, in that era, the Lord of Hell was not easy to get along with.
The Lord of Hell was very powerful, cultivating the Hell Great Tao. The Lord of Hell had once left the origin continent. Before leaving, the Lord of Hell wasn't that strong, only slightly surpassing other Tao Lords. But after returning from that trip, the Lord of Hell became different, much stronger, far surpassing others, becoming the strongest existence on the origin continent. Some Tao Lords guessed that the Lord of Hell must have gone to other worlds and devoured the great Taos of those worlds. In other words, the Lord of Hell had engaged in the great Tao struggle and won. Some expressed dissatisfaction with this, feeling the Lord of Hell was too arbitrary, but those thoughts could only be kept in their hearts. No one dared to speak out. Until the origin catastrophe descended, a mysterious powerful being took action, shattering Hell, and the Lord of Hell perished on the spot. Afterwards, some speculated whether the Lord of Hell had offended someone outside and was sought out for revenge, even implicating the origin continent.
The king of the Boundary Sea said everything he knew. Compared to the third ancestor, the king of the Boundary Sea didn't have much guile, saying whatever he knew. Perhaps the Lord of Hell hadn't yet become a great Tao Lord, but at least he had found the path to becoming one. However, in the end, this path was cut off by someone. Why think this way? It's actually quite simple. In the soul void, the skeleton hell was also useful. If the skeleton hell was in line with the former Lord of Hell, it would indicate that the great Tao cultivated by the Lord of Hell had already been projected into that unknown realm. But this probably wasn't done by the Lord of Hell. If it had been done by the Lord of Hell, given his strength, he shouldn't have been so easily killed. If it wasn't done by the Lord of Hell, then he must have found the path but encountered enemies along the way. Lin Moyu secretly warned himself that he might also encounter enemies in the future. The Great Tao struggle was an unavoidable path for him as well. Especially since he had multiple Great Taos, the danger would inevitably be greater. Lin Moyu said,
"Thank you both for enlightening me. I understand now."
The third ancestor said,
"About my previous proposal, do you want to consider it carefully?"
Lin Moyu smiled and said,
"I'm only at the 7th level of Tao Venerable Realm now. It's still early to enter the Great Tao Realm. There's no need to rush, but I will carefully consider your words, third ancestor."
The third ancestor nodded.
"All right then. You've fulfilled your promise to this old man. Our transaction has been pleasant. If you have any more business in the future, remember to come find this old man."
Lin Moyu said.
"Then I'll take my leave."
The king of the Boundary Sea suddenly spoke up.
"You called me here just for this?"
Lin Moyu chuckled.
"Of course not. The third ancestor still has things to discuss with you."
The third ancestor clicked his tongue.
"What's the rush? Listen carefully, this old man will tell you about the origin ancestral land."
Hearing about the origin ancestral land, the king of the Boundary Sea immediately became excited and asked in surprise,
"Brother Lin, you remember what happened inside?"
Lin Moyu nodded.
"Yes, I remember. I've already told the third ancestor."
The third ancestor said,
Come, this old man will tell you slowly."
Lin Moyu left the third ancestor's place and returned to the merchant city. The merchant city was still bustling. After several hundred years, it had long since returned to its original state. The incident with Yin Shun was now in the past. From afar, Lin Moyu sensed several powerful auras. Many 7th level and above ancestors had gathered together.
"Is Miss Lu Lian here?"
Lin Moyu called out. As soon as he spoke, Lu Lian instantly appeared beside Lin Moyu. With a cold expression, she asked indifferently,
"What is it?"
Lin Moyu asked,
"Is another genius assembly being held?"
Lu Lian nodded.
"It's been exactly 1,000 years."
Lin Moyu smiled.
"It's good to join in the excitement. Who's presiding over this genius assembly?"
Lu Lian said.
"Xiao Ho Yuan."
Lin Moyu was surprised.
"Senior Xiao Ho has come out of seclusion."
Lu Lian said.
"Yes."
Lu Lian's answers were crisp and concise, without a single extra word. Lin Moyu asked,
"Can I go take a look?" "You can. Do you need me to show you the way?"
Lu Lian asked. Lin Moyu smiled.
"I'll go by myself."
Lu Lian disappeared without another word. She was like the human emperor, efficient and decisive. Lin Moyu smiled and walked towards the venue of the Genius Assembly. Now the human emperor was indeed no different from Lu Lian, but it was hard to say about the future. Under the illumination of the Yin-Yang origin, the great world was evolving towards an independent world. Myriad great Daos would slowly take shape, and all sorts of miraculous things would happen during this evolution process. The problems that had troubled Lin Moyu for countless years would all be resolved in this process. For example, the human emperor could evolve into a true living being, and a technology great Tao belonging to him could be created. The same could be done for Old Star, allowing him to separate from the great world and become a true living being. The promises made to Old Star and the human emperor could thus be fulfilled. What Lin Moyu needed to consider now was whether he should bring Yuedao City back to the great world. For a moment, Lin Moyu couldn't decide. After some thought, he decided to wait until the great world completed its transformation and ascension before making a decision. Following the street, he arrived at the venue of the Genius Assembly. It was a courtyard. The main gate of the courtyard had long been closed, and a formation enveloped the courtyard, not allowing anyone to enter. Lin Moyu just glanced at it and had already seen through the formation. This formation was divided into 2 layers. The upper layer was prepared for the various ancestors, allowing them to observe the performances of the contestants. The lower layer was the area for the contestants. Thinking back to the last time he participated in the Genius Assembly, these ancestors were up there watching the various performances of the young people. Lin Moyu casually drew a rune, and the closed formation immediately opened 3 passages for him. This kind of formation was like child's play to him, easily broken. Lin Moyu entered the formation silently and directly came to the second layer. In the second layer, more than a dozen 7th level and above ancestors were seated, watching the performances of the young people below, occasionally commenting. No one noticed that another person had joined them. Lin Moyu also looked down and saw many familiar faces, as well as some new ones. Xiaoho Yuan was presiding over the assessment, and the content of the assessment seemed similar to the previous one. The aura on Xiaoho Yuan was much stronger than before. Lin Moyu knew that Xiaoho Yuan had begun to cultivate Dao patterns and had already achieved some success. A moment later, an assessment began. Xiaoho Yuan returned to the upper layer. He turned his head and laughed.
Dao friend Lin, you're back.